And then the last thing we want to do is just make sure like right now we have auth ready to go, but like we're not forcing anybody to authenticate and we're not protecting any routes. So let's do that. Let's protect some routes and force people to sign up. So we will do that. So the best way to do that is, there's actually a lot of ways to do it. The best way, in my opinion, is just to use the middleware. So if you don't know what middleware is, it's basically just a function that you can use. It's a function that you can run on the edge in front of your deployment in Next.js that will basically protect any of the routes that you have and run some type of check. Right? In this case, we can check to see if someone is authenticated. So it's just a function that runs before any route is navigated to. So in order to do that, we just need to go on the root of our repo, make a new file, call it middleware.ts. It's not a React file, so it's just a TS. The name has to be called middleware, and it has to be on the root of your file. That's a convention. That is not my opinion. It has to be called middleware, and it has to be the root on your file, on your repo. All right. And then what we're going to do, we have this really cool chart here that does some advanced stuff. We're not going to talk about that. What we're really going to do is just take this auth middleware that they have, and we're just going to export that. So let's do that. So import the auth. Actually, I'm just going to type it out, and then it should bring it in for me. There we go. Import auth middleware from clerk Next.js. Then we're just going to export the default auth middleware. It's a function where you can pass in different types of configurations. I think what we want to pass in is going to be like public routes. Public routes, which should be an array. There we go. And just these are routes that we don't want to lock down, right? Because if we lock down our homepage, nobody can ever see our website. So in this case, we want to make a public route for /. So everything else is going to be protected. But that's the only route we want to protect is that one. Or that we don't want to protect is the homepage. So we'll do that. And then the next thing is, it's just this regex right here. I'm going to copy this and put it in there. And basically what this is saying, so there's two ways to configure what routes you want this middleware to run. So you can prevent the middleware from running you can prevent this, because auth middleware returns a function. So we could prevent this function from running by putting a matcher here to determine what we want this to run on or what we don't want this to run on. Or we can just skip this and we can just write some code in here ourselves, and the middleware will run on every single route, but then we can write our own checks to be like, oh, if request.url is this, don't do anything. If request.url is this, then do something. So many ways to do the same thing programmatically or this way. I think it's better to do it this way because you don't have to worry about any logic inside of this function up here. You don't have to worry about any if statements, and you don't have, because like if you're doing expensive things in this middleware, like making API calls, making database calls, you have to put that underneath your checks. It just gets really sloppy. So this prevents this function from even running unless it matches here. So basically what we're saying is, this is just a regex that says pretty much everything, the homepage, and then like the API. This TRPC thing is just like some hipster version of RPC in TypeScript that people are using today. I'm sure someone's going to teach it or use it soon. It's pretty cool, but we're not using it. But yeah, it's pretty much just matching everything. Okay, so we got all that set up. From there, we should mostly be good to go. I think the only thing that we want to do next is probably set up some, here we go. We mostly just want to set up these environment variables. And these environment variables are going to tell our sign in and sign up where to go after they sign in and sign up, basically. So, hey, I just signed a user up. Where do I go? I just signed a user in. Where do I route them to? So we're going to copy that. And I'm going to head over to our env.local. And I'm going to paste those in there. So the reason these have a prefix of next public, anybody know? Anybody ever used Next.js and know why those have a prefix of next public? And these other ones, and this one up here doesn't? So any environment variable you prefix with next public is available to you on the front end. If you don't put next public, you can't access it on the front end. You can only access it on a server. So this secret key is a secret key. We don't want this on the front end, so it can't be. But anything with next public, you can do on the front end. So the sign in URL is sign in. The sign up URL is sign up. After someone signs in, we want to send them to /journal. But after someone signs up, we actually want to send them to this new user thing, this new user route that we made the segment for, but we didn't make the page yet. And we'll talk about why we need to do that in a minute. Something to do with async behavior and a race condition. These are optional too. You don't have to provide these. You can just pass in props to the sign in component and the sign up component, and it should do the same thing. But I had like a bug when I was working on this curriculum where I forgot to change this to new user. It was on something else, but I passed the prop into the sign up component to say, hey, go to new user after sign up, and it would never go. And I could not figure it out. Like I was literally in the source code of this SDK. Like, why is this not working? And it was because this environment variable takes precedent over a prop, and it was something else. And I just never thought to check it. So I was like, well, I'm just not even gonna use the props anymore. I'm just gonna use the environment variable. So that's why these are here. So the last thing we wanna do before we test this out, because if someone signs up right now, it's just gonna navigate them and it's gonna break because we don't have a page for a new user. So let's just go make a page for a new user right quick. We'll say page.tsx. We won't worry about putting anything in here right now. Let's just get it to work so we can actually test our auth to see what might be broken so we can debug if we need to. Hopefully we don't. Since I just spent so much time hyping up clerk. And I'll just return a div that says, hi. Cool. All right, let's give it a try. You may want to stop and start again just to have those environment variables be reinitialized, although I don't think we need to. I've just run into so many issues where I had to, if I would have just restarted, it would have fixed so many things. So every time I change the config file, the next config, every time I change a database schema, every time I change an environment variable, I just restart because it just eliminates a lot of potential issues. Alrighty, so now if I go back to our app, I try to reload here. It's initializing, and the expected behavior happened. We didn't get forced to a sign up page because we said this was a public route, so that's great. But now if I try to go to /journal, let's see what happens. We immediately get redirected to sign in. I don't have an account, so I'm not going to sign in. So instead at the bottom, I'm just going to click sign up. That redirects me to the sign up page here, in which you can, do your email, your password, or whatever, or you can just continue with Google. I'm just going to continue with Google. I'm going to click that, and looks like it navigated me to journal, which is fine. We'll look at that in a minute, but that's not what we want to look at. What we want to look at instead is if you go back to our clerk dashboard, it should have went away from getting started, and it should have showed you this now with some confetti. And then you can see that there is a user now that is you if you signed up. So there you are. You're signed in. You're ready to go. I expected that to navigate to new user, but for some reason it went to /journal. Why did it do that? Let's figure that out. So I'm just going to look for /journal in here. I don't have it anywhere other than here. So I don't know why I don't know how we even knew what that was because I didn't tell it anywhere. So let's see if we can override this with some of the props. So in the props here, I know that there is actually, let's just go look at the docs. I know that there is two things we want to do. So there's like an after sign up URL and then a redirect URL. So I'm just going to set both of those to the exact same thing. So after sign up URL, I want you to go to /new user, and then redirect URL. I also want you to go to, oh wait, I know why it went to /journal. I'll show you that in a second. /new user. It's actually really smart why I did it. It's like having to implement that yourself is a headache. So let's try that again. I'm already signed in, so I think it's just going to, if I try to sign up again, yeah, it'll just keep going to journal. So until we add the sign out functionality, what you can do to sign out is just open up your browser, go to application, go to session storage, or I'm sorry, cookies. Click on your cookies, and you can just clear out all your cookies here. And it also adds a JWT in the local storage, so you can delete that too. Just delete your local storage and your cookie storage, and that should effectively sign you out. So now when I go back here, it goes to sign up. But if you take a look at the URL, you can see the reason it tried to redirect me to Journal is because it kept track of the URL that I came from, which was, or it kept track of the URL that I was trying to go to. When I clicked that button, I tried to go to /journal. So it kept track of that. It was like, hey, this person tried to go to /journal. So after they're done, go to /journal. So that's what it's trying to do, which is smart because I really like that flow from a UX perspective. When you're like, I tried to go to this page, but I'm not signed in. Let me sign in right quick. And then I hate when it just like sends you to another page that you were not trying to go to. I'm like, that's not the page that I was trying to go to. Like, I wanted to go to this page. So it keeps track of the page you were intending to go to and transfers that intent. So, but we should have overwritten that by adding the redirect URL here to new user. So no matter what's in the URL, it should ignore that. And so let's see what happens. And no, it didn't care. But we'll fix that when we come back. I think there's another prop we have to add somewhere else.